Have a very cool highlight reel, so let's go ahead and roll that, and then I want you guys to keep your applause going because that is going to bring him out, so let's roll that reel.
How you want it, kids? Body bags or juke cubes? Makes no difference to me.
Good God, man. Are you out of your fucking mind?
All right, keep it going for Mr. Karl.
Fellas, how are you?
Yeah!
It is great to be back in Texas. No, it really is actually. It's been a few years since I've been here, and thank you so much for inviting me back to this beautiful city of yours. And I've managed to see all the some really great sights while I'm here. Gas Monkey Garage.
Yeah!
Love those guys. How y'all doing? Good? Yeah? Fantastic, fantastic. Well, there's many things we can talk about, some things we can't talk about, obviously. Why, what would that be? Yes. Well, you don't want to talk about Star Trek. Okay. So please just, if you have a question or something, please just step up to the mic, and I'm happy to have a conversation about anything you'd like to talk about.
Hi, Karl. Thank you for being here today.
Get it, mate.
So I had two questions. One is sort of my main question, and the second one will be a quick one. So first question is, I know Quentin Tarantino is making a Star Trek movie, and you said that you're planning to go absolutely bananas. So I just want you to elaborate more on the possibility of there being a Quentin Tarantino Star Trek movie. So just want to hear your thoughts about it.
You know what? You have as much information as I do.
Fair enough.
You know, all I can really say is that if it does happen, I'd be thrilled to be a part of it, and you know, fingers crossed that is going to happen. And it really, beyond that, I have heard nothing further about any developments on that front. I know he's directing Once Upon a Time in Hollywood at the moment, so he's going to shoot that, do the post-production on that. So any prospective Tarantino movie is a little bit, you know, a little bit in the distance, but yeah, I think it would be rad. I'd love to do it.
Sounds good.
Thank you.
And this question was supposed to be asked by a friend of mine, but he doesn't have the guts to say it. So, when's your next country album coming out?
Funny you should mention that, actually. Well, my cat just died and no time soon.
All right. Thank you very much for being here.
But for $59.95, swing by my booth and I will sing you my next debut single, which is about to drop. 4 weeks.
I look forward to it. Thank you.
All right.
Yeah!
Hi, out of curiosity, all the places you've been for filming, what's your favorite place?
Favorite place? Wow. Wow, that's a great question. Where is my favorite place? I really enjoyed shooting. We shot Dread in South Africa. That was pretty rad. I got to take my kids on safari while I was there. I managed to have a week off. So yeah, I really enjoyed that. No place like home. You know, when we were shooting Lord of the Rings, I got to see more of my own country in the 12 months that we shot that than I had for the entire 28 years that I've lived there. And I mean, it was incredible. I mean, they would actually spend the budget of an average New Zealand film to build a road, you know, on a remote farm to get into some location that's, you know, really never been, you know, filmed before. And so it was an extraordinary experience, and just really wonderful people, you know. I remember we were shooting this one time. Can you please not film this? Thanks. Put away your recording devices. Thank you. Because you're going to get better stories. Thank you, I do appreciate it. We were shooting this sequence out in this very remote location, and Vigo had managed to convince everybody that the producers to do a dawn shot of Aragorn, Legolas, and Gimli running across the plains of Rohan as the sun came up, chasing after the Uruk-hai who had kidnapped Merry and Pippin. And the fact that I remember all that's amazing. Note to self. So what we did is we got a big group of people, and we went out there and we went out there and camped over the night, and big bonfire, many bottles of wine were consumed. I don't ever remember going to bed, and in fact I think Vigo and Orlando literally rolled from the campfire into the makeup bus, and I remember turning up to watch them do their dawn shot, and Aragorn, Legolas, and Gimli running across, and as soon as they run past camera, I saw Orlando Bloom buckle over and vomit. Good times. Thank you.
So I can't record this, right?
You what?
So I can't record this, right?
No.
No? Oh, okay. Yes, I was wondering, what was it like working on the Doom movie?
The Doom movie. I had a lot of fun working on that. I really enjoyed working with Dwayne Johnson and that entire cast. We shot that in Prague. And the interesting thing about it for me was that we actually trained with an ex-Special Forces guy who was in the British Army. He was SAS. And just the stories that he would tell about his experiences of being in the Falklands and other theatres of combat, which is something that I would never want to do. But hearing him talk about it and sort of was pretty mind-blowing. And it was a fun experience. I know it's The Rock's favourite movie. Boy, has it all gone downhill for him after that. But yeah, a lot of fun. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Josh Mendes, and I would
Correct.
Well, goofy if you know my hat. my question is for you, sir, what was it like working on Thor Ragnarok, playing the character of Scrooge? Scourge, there. Sorry, is that Scrooge or Scourge, or how can I pronounce it right?
Yeah. Listen, it was an amazing experience. It really was. I really enjoyed working with Kate Blanchett, who, we'd been in Lord of the Rings together, but we didn't actually share any scenes together. So I think, that was one of the main reasons for me deciding to do that. I got a call from Taika saying, listen, I'm shooting this movie, there's a great role in it, have a look at it. I'll send you some concept art of the character, which looked rad, shaven head, armour. And I read the script and saw that there was quite a fantastic arc for the character, and I really responded to that. That he was really a survivalist, that he started his journey in one place, and then had to do a deal with the devil, and then what the cost of that was, and then how he sort of really came back in the end and ended up doing the right thing morally, which was a fantastic little arc, and I just love working with. I love working with Taika, and obviously Kate, and we had a lot of fun, and it's it's a pleasure to be part of that Marvel universe, which I had really enjoyed seeing many of those Marvel films, so I'm glad you enjoyed it.
All right, thank you so much.
Thanks,
sir.
dude. Narcissistic, sort of fame-hungry, money, power-hungry beings with abilities, and and myself and my group, we know the truth about them, and we're trying to take them down, which is really cool. It's like, you know, it's like the little guy taking on the man, taking on the top 1%. So yeah, I can't wait for you guys to see it. We had a lot of fun. But other roles that I've really enjoyed, I mean, I always enjoy getting together with the Star Trek guys, and you know, the challenge always on that set is to stop laughing before the cameras start rolling. You know, once, this has never happened before, we were shooting, I think it was the first movie in Los Angeles, and we all got the case of the giggle so much, and it was Simon Pegg's fault. That guy, I mean, he can make anything funny. If you rewatch the movie, he's just been transported onto the ship, and he's brought to the bridge along with Kirk, and he's standing there sopping wet. He goes, "Well, can I have a towel, please?" And then he's like, got a towel, and he's sort of rubbing his hair and stuff, and we were just in his fits of hysterics at this, and we blew take after take, and JJ finally had enough, and he came up and he said, "You know what? I am leaving, and you guys get it together and let me know when you're ready." And he walked off set, and we immediately sobered us up. Immediately, we felt terrible. It was like tick, tick, tick. So he came back 10 minutes later, and we managed to get through it. But that's just indicative of, you know, of working on that. And they're all extremely funny guys, you know. John Cho and Simon and Zach and Chris, just hilarious to work with. And yeah, it's I really enjoy working on that. So thank you for your question.
Thank you. Well, I had two questions. Oh gosh. Sorry. I had two questions, but someone here asked mine. So, what was your favorite part about being in the Star Trek universe with Leonard Nimoy coming back and being able to be a part of Leonard Nimoy?
Well, it's difficult to say, but I have so many amazing memories of, and I feel so blessed to be a part of that Star Trek universe. Fantastic fans for a start. You couldn't ask for better fans. If it wasn't for the fans, there would be no Star Trek. They were the ones that championed it, you know, sort of coming back for its third season, and the I guess the dedication and longevity of that fandom ensured that, you know, we got a whole lot of movies out of it as well, and then, you know, multiple Star Trek television shows. So yeah, for me, I guess one of my most sort of cherished memories of of working on Star Trek was watching Leonard Nimoy don the ears and become Spock for the first time in, I think, something like 15 or 16 years, and to be on set for his first scene. And I remember watching him do his first take, and I was at the monitor with JJ, and I was watching, and I was like, wow, this is incredible. And at the end of the first take, JJ got up and went to go and give Leonard Nimoy direction on how to play Spock. And it went like this. He got up and he started walking over, and then at some point as he was walking, he looks up and he sees Leonard Nimoy and goes, I literally, and JJ's never lost for words, ever. But I literally clocked the moment he looked up and realized, holy shit, I'm about to give direction to Spock. And I asked him about it, and he goes, yeah, I freaked out. I got halfway over there and thought, oh my God, what can I tell this guy about playing this character that he doesn't already know? And so he really had to think about it, and so it was kind of hilarious. But I had such a fantastic time working on that, and it was a wonderful collaborative experience. And JJ was always very receptive to ideas, and he has this unique ability of being able to take what is the Achilles heel of a scene and turn it into one of its strengths. We were shooting a film, we were shooting a scene, and I think it was Into Darkness. And I suddenly realized every single line that my character had, every piece of dialogue was a metaphor. And I went up to him and I said, listen, can we knock a couple of these out? Because every single one of these is a metaphor. And he sort of looked at it, and instead of taking lines away, he gave a line to Kirk, which was something to the effect of, you know, Daniel, will you stop speaking in metaphors? And so, which I was kind of like, it wasn't really the point. I was trying to not be the guy speaking in metaphors. But, you know, and it was funny, and he made it funny. And, you know, that's, you know, he's one of those directors who, like Peter Jackson, you know, when they get thrown a curveball, they know what to do with it. We were shooting Lord of the Rings, and we were probably day 4 out of 7 or 8 working at Edoras, and it was incredible. They had built this Rohirrim village on top of this mini mountain in the midst of this glacial valley, and put the Great Hall of Rohan in there. And we'd been shooting there for 4 days. We'd turn up on the sort of the 5th day, and the ground was covered in snow. And I was like, wow, I mean, it's not going to match. I guess we've got the day off. And, you know, I was sort of looking forward to putting my feet up for the day. And we get called to do a block through, which is what you do when you know, figure out how you're going to shoot the scene. And Pete's standing there, we're all standing in a circle, and he goes, okay, we're going to start with a shot on Bernard and Ian. We'll start with you, and you know, we'll bring the horses in here, we'll melt the snow, and then we'll wow, you still there? Yeah. We'll melt the snow, and then we'll, you know, and I was thinking, what, melt the snow? Are you crazy? What do you mean melt the snow? Literally 10 minutes later, there's 4 guys with industrial-sized gas heaters just going around like melting snow. Like you, and it dawned on me, you got to realise that there must have been a production meeting 12 months before that where someone went, well, what if it snows? I mean, you know, they'd thought about it. So yeah, it was an incredible experience, and he was also very accessible. Peter Jackson, fantastic director. And, you know, I remember we were shooting another scene, and, you know, I came up to him and said, listen, we've got this big scene coming up in a few days, can we have a chat about it? And he goes, yeah, sure, come to me at the end of this. And so at the end of it, we sat down and we went through, and we got the book, and we got the script, we put them side by side, and we made a bunch of changes, made it more specific, made it better. And at the end of it, I looked up, and we'd been talking for an hour, and it was just me and Peter sitting on top of this hill. The crew had taken all the lights and everything down and gone to lunch, and we were just in the middle of the wilderness in New Zealand together, just sitting there going, wow, oh, I guess we'll go to lunch now. But it was incredible. And, you know, the friendships that were formed on that movie, the bonds were, you know, have remained really strong, so I feel very blessed for that. Thank you for your question. Thank you.
Hi.
Hey there.
So, I've been obsessed with all things Tolkien since I was like 8 years old.
I never would have guessed.
But I wanted to know, had you read Lord of the Rings before you were cast as Éomer?
No, actually, I hadn't. I'd read The Hobbit, but I had not read Lord of the Rings, and was sort of in some degree of anxiety about having to complete that task before I started filming, because I found out, I mean, the book's like that. and you know, I found out that I'd got the part, and I was, you know, filming 4 weeks later. So initially I listened to it on audio tape, and then, you know, as we were shooting over the course of the year, you know, I'd read it, you know, pretty quickly. But the amazing thing was that it's the only movie that I've ever been involved with where everybody, from the lighting guys to the catering people to the horse wranglers, is walking around with a copy of the book and sort of like looking at, okay, this is what we're shooting now. And it's amazing. You can, like, the attention to detail on that was phenomenal. There are elements of design on that armor that will never be seen by an audience, but it's there, like engravings in the leather that you know, of some sort of historic significance, and you know, everybody was so dedicated and committed to it, and I think those films really stand up. Like, I'm not in the habit of rewatching stuff that I've done. You know, for me, the enjoyment is while I'm doing it. I like to see it once or twice to see what it is, but then I don't revisit it. But I was on the plane the other night, and Lord of the Rings was on, and I watched it, and I was just blown away by how those movies really do stand up, and hence I guess why I so loved. Thank you for your question.
Thank you.
Hi there.
Hello. Since you did Thor Ragnarok, were you a fan of the Marvel Universe before? And if so, what was your favorite, like, movie or television show that they've done?
Yeah, listen, I've seen a bunch. I've taken my kids to a bunch of the Marvel movies, and as to which is my favorite, which was my favorite before Thor?
Yeah, so I'm betting Ragnarok.
Because that's clearly my favorite. I got a confession to make. I actually haven't seen the other two Thor movies. Right? Have you?
Yes.
Okay. No, for whatever reason, I just missed them. I don't know why. Yeah, I enjoyed them. Like sort of the Iron Man movies when they came out. I thought it was a fantastic way to sort of reboot the whole Marvel thing. Guardians of the Galaxy I thought was fantastic. I really enjoyed that. So yeah, they have a particular formula and they do it really well. And when you see some other movies, superhero-based movies that don't quite hit the mark, that it makes it even more astonishing. That being said, last night the Henry Cavill Superman movie, the first one he did was on television, and I didn't watch all of it, but as I was flicking, I would just sort of stay on the channel, and I thought not only was he remarkably good, but there's some actually really good things in there. Particularly him sort of being a wanderer before he gets the suit and all that, and he's wandering around and helping people, and I thought that was really well done. Yeah, I thought he made an extraordinarily good Superman. So. Yeah. Thank you for your question.
Thank you.
Hello.
Hello.
All right. Here's another Marvel question. If you could be any Marvel character, who would you be?
Scourge. Scourge would be a good one to be. I don't know if I could ever do it, but if I could, I'd be that one. Listen, I don't know. That's a really great question. I don't know. I haven't even thought about the possibility of doing anything else in that world. And I don't know if you even can, once you play something in the Marvel universe, I don't know if you can come back and be someone else, right? Can you?
Sure, why not?
What? You know your movies. Who was? That's right. I wonder if he's going to go back to being a Human Torch now that he's not Captain America. Come full circle. Right? No brainer. Yeah. Thank you for the question.
I have 2 questions.
I love 2 questions.
The first one, are you going to make another Doom sequel?
Make another what sequel?
A Doom.
Of Doom? No.
And the second question, are you ever going to be in a Deadpool movie if another one comes out?
Am I ever going to what?
Be in a Deadpool movie if another one comes out.
Yes, I will. I'd love to be in a Deadpool movie. I think Julie Dennison, another New Zealander, was in one. He did the second one that came out, did a great job. I love Deadpool. And I certainly, when I watched the first one, I saw that there were similarities, particularly in the opening sequence, that reminded me a lot. I think that they drew some inspiration from Dredd, or at least cinemagraphically, the way that Dredd was shot. Dredd was a little bit before its time, I think, in terms of being like an R-rated, comic book movie. But I thought Deadpool was fantastic, and Ryan Reynolds is just a beast. Yeah, they did such a good job on that. Thank you for the question. You look phenomenal, by the way. I vote for you.
Hi.
Hi there.
So, I've been a fan since Price of Milk. But
How's that working out for you?
worked out great for you, I guess. But my question's not necessarily about you, sorry.
That's even better, actually.
So going back a long time ago, when I was in junior high or mid-school, I did a project on New Zealand. So I've always wanted to visit New Zealand. I've always been really interested since, that's a very, very long time. And I'm just wondering, I might actually get the chance to visit this next year, and I'm wondering, what is it like? Where are the places to go? What are the scenery? Because I want to see the green and the beautiful and things that we've only seen on films.
Yeah, there's not much to see there. Try Australia. Never thought I'd say that. No, seriously, avoid Australia. I'm not kidding. Anything that can kill you lives in Australia. You know, they have, when you get off the plane and they have a tourism billboard, it's a guy with a surfboard under his arm and he's got one leg. Because the other one's been bitten by a bloody shark. And they're all descended from criminals. You know, I tried to go into Australia once, and I was at the airport, the customs line, and I went up to the immigration guy, and he's looked at my form, and he goes, do you have a criminal record? And I said, no. Oh, sorry, mate, I didn't know I still needed one to get in.
Oh, snap.
Boom. Step this way, sir. No, seriously, if you come to New Zealand, I would, firstly, what time of year are you going to be there?
I'd like to be there during your spring, which I think would be
Now. Yeah.
November-ish.
November. Well, I would recommend anywhere to South Island. It is quite unlike the North Island in many ways. It's rugged mountains, beautiful country, coastline, incredible coastline. South Island, you can't go wrong. Just rent a car and drive around because it is beautiful. North Island, I would go to the very top of the North Island, Northland, particularly Cape Reinga, and then it's at the very top of the island, and you can see two seas collide. The Tasman Sea and the Pacific Sea, the Pacific Sea. See them collide, and it's really quite beautiful. What else? The Taupo region in the middle of the North Island is quite beautiful. You'd probably want to go to Hobbiton. If you're a Lord of the Rings fan, you might want to go there. I would go to Karikari, where they shot the piano. And that's just a 45-minute drive out of Auckland. That whole coast is beautiful. So, black sandy beaches. That's one of the things I love about living in Auckland, actually. Actually, it's not that good, don't go there. No, it is. It's but you've got some beautiful places here. I've been blessed to, travel to many parts of this country. It's extraordinarily beautiful. I mean, the Grand Canyon is mind-blowing. So, yeah, whatever you did, it's a great job. Thank you for your question.
Thank you.
Hi there, how are you?
So out of all the diverse types of roles that you've gotten to play, is there a specific genre you really like sci-fi versus fantasy or anything like that?
Yeah, listen, not really. I've never really, it's kind of just dumb luck in a way that I've sort of stumbled into so many sci-fi / fantasy roles. I always, growing up, I always enjoyed watching science fiction films. I loved Ridley Scott's Alien or Blade Runner and the Star Wars movies as much as I loved Indiana Jones or other stuff like, Paul Newman and Cool Hand Luke or Steve McQueen and Bullet. I appreciate cinema in general and the language of cinema, and it's just wonderful to see that there's so many talented filmmakers these days that are making films in those genres. So it's, it's certainly, I would love the opportunity to work with someone like Ridley Scott on an alien movie. That'd be pretty amazing. Or if they made another Blade Runner movie, I liked that 2049. It was pretty cool. Thank you for the question.
All right, looks like we've got time for just one more question.
And with best, I suppose. So I had a question about Dread, actually, and I want to know, did you have to do much research? Like, did you go back to the comics for it at all, or did you just kind of make it your own?
Yeah, no, I really didn't do much research into the comics for that. My character wasn't actually in the comics, so I sort of glanced at a few of them to see what they. Oh, for Dread. I thought you said Dread.
Sorry, no, Dread.
Oh, Dread was completely the opposite. Yeah, I took that shit intravenously. I mean, that was... Yeah, no, Dread. Dread, I was one of the... I didn't read many comics when I was a kid. But Dread was one of the ones that I did read. And when I got the role, I went and bought every Judge Dredd comic that I could find and made up a journal and photocopied. And this is how sacrilegious those comics were to me. I wouldn't even cut them out. I would photocopy panels that were of interest and include them. And some of those lines made it into the movie. And I would always look to the comic for guidance. Dredd's voice was describing one of the comics as being like a saw cutting through bone. So that was my interpretation of that, and based on what was written in the comics. We were 3/4 of the way shooting through Dredd, and I realized that we had no key artwork for a poster, and that at some point that they would want me to do a photo shoot, and rather than come back, so many months later and have to do that, I suggested we should do a poster shoot, and this is what it should be. And I had my journal, and one of the panels that I had photocopied was from one of the comic books called America, and it's actually what we shot. They took the American flag out, I think, for obvious reasons. But the comic book is obviously set in a time post corrupt president where everything had fallen apart and the sort of justice system had taken over. So that's why. But so no, it was a huge inspiration on many levels. And I feel very blessed to have played it. I would love to do more. I was talking to the Rebellion guys about a year ago, and they were developing Mega City 1, which is basically, it's a story or a series of stories set in Mega City 1 about a group of rookie judges, and Dredd kind of weaves his way, through those stories, and I would certainly love to do more. Yeah, should I? Okay. Hey, thank you so much. You've been a wonderful audience. Thank you for your time and energy. I'm here all day. Come and see me. And by all day, I mean for another hour. You've been awesome. Take care. Thank you.